Hi, and welcome to my EKF project titled Dora Doesn't Teach Yet Anymore, Rerouting the Teacher's Role in a World of Infinite Knowledge. So, what does it mean to be a teacher in the age of Google, TikTok explainers, and ChatGPT? If knowledge is everywhere, overflowing, in surplus, then the idea of the teacher as the sage on stage seems outdated. These days, we're told the teacher is no longer a transmitter of knowledge, but a navigator of knowledge. This is seen from educational policy like Teach Less, Learn More that aim to move education away from rote content delivery towards deeper thinking and self-directed learning. It sounds really neat, but what does being a navigator actually mean? And is it the best way to think about teaching today? So, we have to unpack what does the navigator means, and we're going to do that through the metaphor of Dora the Explorer. Now, let's imagine the teacher as Dora the Explorer. Dora has always the map. She pulls it out, she sings about it, and confidently declares the path. This is how the navigator metaphor imagines the teacher. Like Dora, the teacher doesn't create the terrain, but they know the route through it. Their job is to chart a pathway through surplus. Teacher helps students filter through the noise of endless information. Teachers orient students towards a destination, like Dora heading for her final destination. The teacher points everyone towards learning objective. And also, teacher holds the tools of orientation. Just as Dora uses her map, teachers uses lesson objective, pedagogical frameworks, and curricular goals to keep the class on track. So it is actually a very attractive idea. In a world where students can Google anything, teachers still has value as the one who sets the direction, chooses landmarks, and ensures safe passage through the chaotic sea of knowledge. However, here's the catch. Classrooms, fortunately or unfortunately, are not Dora episodes. The navigator metaphor comes with hidden assumptions. Firstly, it assumes that a stable map exists. Dora's landmarks never move, but in new media, knowledge is messy, shifting, and contested. As Stuart Hall reminds us, knowledge is always a representation. It is a framing of someone else's ideology, and it is never neutral. Secondly, it assumes that teacher already knows the best route. But in reality, teachers are also constantly navigating partial knowledge and changing canons. Basil Bernstein shows us that curriculum doesn't just organize knowledge, it classifies and frames it. Classification draws the boundaries of knowledge within the subject, while framing determines who gets to speak, how knowledge is transmitted, and what counts as legitimate participation. Through these processes, curriculum becomes a system of symbolic control. It privileges certain voices, often aligned with dominant social or cultural capital, while excluding others. The map of learning, in other words, is never neutral, but it is actually drawn through power. Thirdly, it assumes that a clear destination exists. Dora does always knows where she's going. The endpoint is fixed on the map. But in education, the endpoint is highly contested. Michael Apple calls this the politics of official knowledge, deciding what counts as valid knowledge and therefore what counts as success is in itself an act of power. Official knowledge, the content legitimized through syllabuses, policy documents, and exams, is not simply chosen for its truth or usefulness. It reflects social, economic, and political priorities. Whose stories are told, whose histories are celebrated, and whose ways of knowing are left out. Seen through Apple's lens, the teacher as navigator is not charting within a free course, but steering within a pre-approved map. The destination has already been drawn by policymakers, curriculum designers who define what learning should produce: productive workers, adaptive citizens, creative innovators. In Singapore, for instance, the 21st century competency framework translates these priorities into desirable disposition, critical adaptive thinking, global awareness, collaboration, and information skills. These are valuable traits, but they are also deeply middle class and align with the needs of knowledge economy rather than the diverse realities of students' lives. Finally, it assumes that the students are passengers. Students are not passive audience members, they are real people bringing their own detours, life experience, and counter knowledges. Thus, to treat them as sidekicks misses the richness of the classroom. So, what if instead of navigator, we thought of teachers as cartographers? Cartographers don't just follow a map, they draw it, they decide what to include and what to leave out. They know the map is partial, situated, and political. They invite others to read it, question, and even redraw it. So, as cartographers, teachers work with students to place canonical knowledge alongside counter voices, make omitted knowledge visible, and invite learners to annotate, challenge, and expand their map with their own experiences. This metaphor restores teachers' judgment and acknowledges that every curriculum is an act of inclusion and exclusion. It shifts the teacher from being Dora on a scripted adventure to being a co creator of maps that help students orient themselves in the contested world. Now, someone might push back. If teachers are cartographers, should we then give space to all maps, even harmful ones? What if a student brings Andrew Tate's misogynistic view? Do we just treat that as another map on the table? This is where the nuance of a cartographer metaphor matters. Being a cartographer doesn't mean that all maps are equal. It means showing all maps are constructed. When a student brings in a harmful discourse, the teacher's role is not to validate it, but to expose its construction. Where does it come from? Who benefits from it? And whose voices does it erase? Stuart Hall would say representation is always a representation. Ideologies like Tate's are powerful not because they are true, but they are circulated as common sense. And Foucault reminds us power produces knowledge. These harmful maps gain traction because platforms, algorithms, and social anxieties amplify them. So the teachers, as photographers, can take those harmful maps, lay them alongside each other, and show that they're exclusion and distortion. This isn't relativism, it is more about equipping students to see how knowledge can be weaponized and why some maps constrain human dignity while others expand it. So, yes, teaching in the age of knowledge surplus isn't about transmitting fact, but I would argue neither is it about navigation. Education isn't about following Dora's map to the final point. It is about interrogating the map itself. Who drew it? What does it leave out? And how might we redraw it together? Thank you.